Good morning to each and every one of you. Welcome to this session, which I would invite you before we start. When you listen to the presentations, please bring to your mind a face of one of your beloved persons. Build the empathy and the closeness of your heart to what might seem to be statistics. But we are going to be talking about human lives. And for those lives to have a meaning, because they can be a bit distant from us, please bring to your mind someone you dearly love and imagine how you would be engaged to give 3, 4, 5 more opportunities for a healthy, dignified, and fulfilling life. I am one of the co-chairs, and Mabel and I, we decided that we are not going to read the bios of our distinguished speakers. In any case, all of them are very well known to you. And we decided we are going just to ask them one question, which will come repeatedly with each one of them to answer. Why are you passionate about addressing HIV/AIDS? The first speaker is Dr. Stephanie Stratt-Dee. Shortly I'll say she is an infectious disease epidemiologist who has spent the last 2 decades focusing on HIV prevention in undeserved, marginalized populations in the developed and developing countries, including people who inject drugs, men having sex with men, and sex workers.
As I was listening to these very rich and thoughtful presentations on the impact of gender, and as I was listening to these horrendous rates of infection among adolescent girls, I couldn't help thinking that we should do more than just prioritizing adolescent girls in the HIV response. These girls have been ignored for far too long, but just prioritizing them alone might not be enough. And it really feels to me that time has come to break the sector, break the silos, and integrate the work in other sectors. For example, we know that child marriage increases the risk of HIV infection. Now, if you think about it, that every year 15 million girls globally get married before the age of 18. Think about it, that is 1 girl every 2 seconds. 1 girl, another. Now, I can't believe that you can stop HIV infection among adolescent girls if you don't also tackle child marriage. Similarly, we do know that if you can keep girls in school, the chances that they'll get infected significantly reduce. So I think we really owe it to adolescent girls who have been ignored for far too long, that we pay more attention to everything that we've heard so far, and that we think very creatively in how we can stand up and work on their well-being.
The world has not yet accepted diversity in gender and gender identity and sexual orientation as a natural and joyful fact of being human. It is a shameful state of affairs. As a proudly and openly gay man, I've experienced the sting of ostracism, of ignorance and hatred, but I've also experienced the power of redeeming love and acceptance and exclusiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not ask for tolerance. We do not ask for acceptance. We claim what is rightfully ours. That is our right to be ourselves in dignity and equality with other human beings. We claim our right to be human. Discrimination on the ground of sexual orientation or gender identity is a colossal waste of time. And the sooner we accept our differences, the better for all of us in Africa. Look at those wonderful quotes from our wonderful Archbishop Tutu. He said, ladies and gentlemen, at the launch of the UN AIDS, the UNDP, UN Organization Free and Equal campaign, I don't want to go to a heaven in which there's a homophobic God. If I get there and he tells me he's homophobic, I will say to him, no, I want to go to the other place. Ladies and gentlemen, the same applies to sex workers. Sex workers are perhaps the most reviled group in human history, indispensable to a portion of mostly heterosexual males in any society, but despised, marginalized, persecuted, and ostracized. Sex workers work. Their work is work with dignity. Why do sex workers do sex work? Ask a sex worker for groceries, for school fees, to feed their children, to send money to their relatives in the rural areas. Don't you all want to do that, ladies and gentlemen? Princess Mabel, don't you want to do that? Yeah. It's hard work, ladies and gentlemen. It's perilous work. They have a tough, dangerous job. They deserve our love and respect and support, not our contempt and condemnation.
I have worked in this field since I was 8 years old. Yeah, that's pretty young. But since I have memory, I suffer from stigma and discrimination. And I remember that the pain I felt, and I don't want anybody else to feel the same way again. Thankfully, I have an awesome parents that always supported me and always gave me the tools for me to develop a full life. But sadly, there are many young women and young girls out there that doesn't have that education and the privilege that I had. Girls that are being discriminated. And I'm talking right now about Latin America. Latin America, it's a region that needs a lot of help, where sexual education, where condom, where sex, where LGBT community, it's a taboo. And that's why I have dedicated 13 years of my life to fight for the rights, for our rights, to reach people's hearts and to educate people to stop stigma and discrimination.
There's real evidence that we need to support and strengthen systems within communities that are community-based, that are run by community leaders, that are paying attention and underlying the issues when it comes to young girls in particular. I think that any kind of intervention really has to be very specific to who you're trying to help, who you're trying to support. And I think that we have to start focusing a little bit more on how to reach women, young girls. I think we have a very clear understanding that they are the ones that are falling through the cracks, and they are also have the most prevalency to become HIV positive. So I think that we have to leave a conference like this, and we have to figure out more effective ways, innovative ways to support those grassroots organizations, and to encourage women to start supporting women. I think that would be a good place to start too. I think a lot of these young girls are creating communities for themselves, and it's really powerful to see how they can empower each other.
I think if we continue to try to make up strategies from afar and take them to the young women where they are, they may not work, but actually have solutions coming from the young women themselves within their communities, and maybe help to facilitate a way for the young women to be able to have dialogue within their communities, to have, I'm sure in their communities they would know who are the key points. The word key now is becoming very, I think it's becoming, but in a way that they know whom they would want to facilitate a dialogue within their community that will ensure that that stigma is addressed, that stigma is defeated.
I think part of what we're trying to do with Dreams is to do many different things, work with the parents, work with the community, work with the schools, knowing that women's lives are not static and in one place, and making sure that we're addressing all of the different places, and at the same time really dealing with the tough issues that put us in this place, which we know when young girls' first sexual experience is rape, and that's anywhere between a quarter to a half of the young women's experience. We have to talk about it and bring that in the light of day, just like we had to do at the beginning of the epidemic with HIV, so that we're really addressing the issues and not putting it all on the young woman to address it for herself.